Hi guys, it's Sean from Pulse Markets. I'm here with Justin Peters again. We're catching up. A couple of things have happened recently. We've seen some stuff blow up on Twitter. There's also a little deal that's happening with us at the moment. But hi Justin, how are you?
Good, thanks, Sean, and great to speak to you again.
Justin, I've got figures and pies everywhere, and a lot of my clients own NeuRizer shares. And I've got quite a few texts with the Premier being with Daelim and Sth Korea in South Korea last week. Can you tell us what happened there, please? Because I know Sth Australia, Daelim, it's NeuRizer, not Sth Australia Premier. Can you just elaborate?
Well, absolutely, Sean. So I was up in Korea last week. I went up to meet with Mr. Ma, the CEO of Daelim. We were up there discussing some important things like the feed, the BFS, and moving forward on the project, and Daelim bringing their staff down to Adelaide, which they've already started to do. And the reality is that the South Australian government had been doing a roadshow through Japan and through Korea, talking with major companies. They had a meeting with Daelim, that's the SA government. Peter Malinauskas, the Premier, and Tom Koutsantonis, the Minister for Mining, met with Daelim. And at that meeting, several things were discussed. One of those things discussed was clearly our project, how important it is for South Australia and the number of jobs we could create in South Australia. But I think that what you're seeing within the tweet from the Premier's office is that in addition to that, the South Australian government were looking actively with companies who had experience in hydrogen and looking at the hydrogen hub the South Australian government wanted to develop, and met with major companies, of which Daelim was one of those, and sat down with Daelim and one of my directors in NRZ and basically signed a cooperation agreement where Daelim in South Australia would work with the South Australian government looking at the hydrogen opportunities in South Australia. I think that what's really interesting about that is that a lot of people don't quite understand who our two largest shareholders are. And the first is that China New Energy, we've been there for a long time now, they've been with us now for nearly 7 years, are also one of the largest players of hydrogen in China. And that is that they already have a hydrogen bus fleet within China itself, but also a major hydrogen hub. So we have CNE, major shareholder, our second largest shareholder being Daelim, are involved in several hydrogen projects around the world. And we're quite comfortable in sitting down with the South Australian government discussing the potential at looking at hydrogen projects in South Australia. And with that, I want to point out too, that if you look at our two largest shareholders are hydrogen focused in a lot of their areas, and the South Australian company, NeuRizer, can also manufacture hydrogen, and we have done so, and we have proved we can do it, and we've done it at a very, very low price. It's interesting to see where this hydrogen space develops. I've often said that hydrogen is almost like a waste gas for us, and yet this is sort of the momentum going in the market. Daelim and CNE and the South Australian government want to look at, along with other parties, how we can develop hydrogen and the hub within South Australia. So it was a really great trip. It was a great chance for the Premier to personally meet with the senior executives at Daelim, and for them to be able to show the government of South Australia just how serious Daelim are with us in South Australia. So it was a great week, great meetings, and I'm looking forward to it developing over the next month or two.
Justin, I'm just so impressed. Last week, with one of our other investments, they met the Prime Minister. Now you're taking the Premier of South Australia overseas, like NeuRizer, the Premier, like South Australia, like you're becoming a big player. And one of the things we want to know is that the funding mechanisms of your deal, because it's great seeing Daelim come down to Australia, coming and South Australia going there, but you've got the 70% covered through Daelim. You're confident on that. Now, it's the 30%, which I think the market's scared about. Do you have any traction on that at the moment in the short-term funding that we're in at the moment?
Interesting question, Sean. The first part of that is that, when the Premier of South Australia deals with a company our size, they have reservations about, are you going to make it? Are you going to be successful? Are you backing a horse that's not going to, run the distance? And we've shown definitely we can run the distance. I think that got reinforced very strongly with the government when they met with our major partner up there in Korea. I think then when you take that to the second part of your question, it's really quite interesting in that it is very, very clear to me that one of the easiest parts of what we've done over this project is raising the project funding. I know it sounds weird. I know people will sit there and think that, okay, you got to raise $2 billion, $3 billion. That's easy. Let me tell you, that's actually probably the easiest part of this project. Getting your feed finished, your BFS finished, your production license, getting an offtake agreement that's binding and it's a take or pay, getting a strategic partner coming. That's been damn hard work. Let me tell you, raising this money is actually a lot easier than people think. So what do I mean by that? Okay. So let's assume we've got the 70% covered. Whether we do that through, the Korean bank that's associated with Daelim for 70% of the capex, subject to commercial terms being worked out between the parties, and we've met with them and discussed it, and it will just be normal banking process. Where do you get that 30% from? And I've said this in previous podcasts. What's interesting is that it's actually getting even easier. And what I mean by that is that the number of people coming to us, almost, it's certainly on a weekly basis, I made it, but nearly on a daily basis, coming to us and saying, we want to be part of the project. We want to buy a royalty to give you the 30%. Right? We want to finance you against your offtake agreement for the 30%. We want to buy into the project for the 30%. And we have numerous options in front of us at the moment that we're working through. And our challenge is not getting the money. Our challenge is getting the best deal. And by the way, that was the same challenge we had with the offtake agreement with Daelim. We had been offered several offtake agreements, both for 50% and 100% of our product. And the challenge was not, even though shareholders were nervous, even though the scuttlebutts out there was saying, you can't, there's something wrong, you haven't signed it yet. That was never the issue. The issue always was with the offtake agreement about getting the right deal. And the one we got with Daelim was the right deal for the company. It's the same with the 30%. It is not a case of, can we get the 30%? That's just the lay down misère. The issue is, what's the right deal for the 30%? Right, and that's what we're working through, and we've got a damn good team working on it, and I'm pretty comfortable you're going to see something happening, pretty soon that shows the market, not only we've got the 70, we've got the 30 covered, which seems to be sort of the big question now that we've answered every other question. This seems to be the major question now.
Okay, that's just music to the ears. The thing is, we're in a trading halt this morning. We're raising a very small amount of money. When you talk about the capex, everything's needed. This is such a small raise. There's a lot of money needed to get to BFS FID. If you've got options there, because the big project, once it gets there, you've said that's easy. What about through now to BFS feed? I know this is a very small raise. Is it a small raise for a reason?
Oh, look, it is. So there are two different parts of funding here, guys. So the first one is project funding. You're looking at the funding for the $3 billion project. Don't say it quickly. It's a lot of money. $3 billion, but easy to do. Honestly, easy to do. Then you've got the next section of, okay, you've got to raise funds to get us from here to FID. There's a lot of money that's got to be spent to get us to FID. Put aside stage one, we're talking about what's going on out at Lee Creek at the site. There's also a lot of issues with Stammy Carbon, with Daelim, with KBR, with Nexant, with licensing fees, with the feed that require funding. We are extremely close to having all of that funding resolved, both us to FID now, and then once FID is done for the project, we're very close to having both of those nailed. The world finance environment is really quite strange at the moment, and it's not an easy game to play. Anyone that knows, anyone that looks at this video, anyone that looks at the market, anyone that looks at what's going on in the world will understand what I'm saying here. If you have a look at America, inflation is a major issue. If you have America, like the cost of fuel, you've got the November midterms coming up where you've got all this politics going on between Biden and the rest of the players. If you look at Ukraine and Russia, no one knows where that's going. No one has any idea whether it's going to ramp up, whether there's going to be a coup in Russia. No one knows. If you look at England, if you look at the fact that Truss has just become the Prime Minister,
it's everywhere.
Chancellor, the world is an incredibly nervous place. What does that mean for us as a company? If you're out there trying to raise money right now, let me tell you, It is not an easy place to raise money. So we have two choices. We either go for, let's raise a small amount that resolves, running the company issues, meeting our obligations as a company, and waiting until we get a decent package through that funds us through to FID and working on that, which is what we're going to do. So right now we're simply looking at raising, a few million that pays our bills, runs the company, takes the pressure off the executive, takes the pressure off our engineers and team, takes the pressure off everyone knowing full well that we'll have the major package finished fairly soon. So that's the only reason we're looking at it. I can tell you, I have offers for tens of millions from different groups. And once again, it comes back to this issue of what's the best deal for the company. Until we can nail the right deal for the company, we're just going to go with a small raise. And that's what we're looking at the moment, a small raise to give us the time to nail the right deal. And that's all it is, Sean.
Just one word, and I want to ask this, and we'll have to tidy up because there's a few things happening on the desk this morning. This short-term funding package, is it debt or equity?
You talk about the one we're looking at right now?
Yeah, to FID.
Right now is equity. We have a debt.
No, the one we're doing is equity, but
yes.
But no, the one after that to get through to FID.
Okay, so we have three proposals in front of us at the moment that we're looking at. So we have an equity proposal, we have a convertible note that's considered to be debt, and we have a pure debt play. So we have three in front of us that we're going through DD and looking at the moment. Right.
What's your favourite?
Sorry? I'd have to say pure debt.
Yeah, I know. Listen, Justin.
That's always better because it's zero dilution. But, that comes with its own issues as well. Things like security. No one's going to give you money. You want to go to a bank and ask for a couple $100,000, they're not going to give it to you unless they've got something for security. You have security issues there. Then you run into issues about priorities. A convertible note, sort of a hybrid between equity and debt. I can tell you, absolutely, hand on heart, tell you, we have term sheets in front of us for tens of millions, not for $2 or $3 million.
So in other words, Justin, this short little raise we're doing right now is just to close those big ones off.
It's to buy us time to negotiate them properly.
So you're not having to do a deal you don't want to do
with this one now. No,
no.
So you're exactly right. Sorry, I misunderstood you, Sean. You're exactly right. The reason we're taking the short-term number now is so that we can actually work through and get the deal we want, not the deal we have to take.
Well, very proud, Justin. We've got a lot of clients that hold NeuRizer. We've done a lot of videos, and you're giving these guys, the little guys like me, the ability to buy shares in NeuRizer before you get the big deals done. That's just really commendable. I can't thank you enough.
I think, Sean, that it almost sounds self-serving, doesn't it? I mean, if I sit here and thank you, it sounds self-serving, but I want to do this. And that is that, firstly, we have some very loyal shareholders. And some people might think they're blind. They're not. They know what's going on. They trust us. They understand things. I think you'll find that, if you went back to the meeting I just had in Korea, trust was emphasised to the Premier very much so by Daelim. They trust our company because they're inside us. They know us. They've got a director. Trust is incredibly important. And trust with both your firm, Sean, and I want to also thank Mark Garcourt, L39, the level of trust, but also, it's really easy to have a go at people when your share price goes down. The long-term shareholders are supportive of us that know what we're doing, but at the same time, understand the difficulty of markets, makes life for us as management a lot easier, and that we know we have their support, we brief properly, we're honest, we're open and we're transparent, and we get that sort of support. So I do want to thank both Pulse and L39 and Mark Garcourt. The support has been huge, and we really appreciate it.
Well, we've still got all our shares. We've never sold. They've sold a few in the past, but we've still got a massive position. But no, just thank you, Justin.
You've always got to trade. You've always got to take money off the table when you need it. Sometimes you've got tax bills. Other times, you're in profit there. You've got to take it. Other times you've got losses. You've got to offset. Everyone's got to trade. That's life. That's what we do in this business. But the support from our long-term shareholders has been incredible.
I think we're almost there, and that's why I appreciate this raise. If you've got the debt, you've got FID, you've got the big picture sorted, and with the Premier, I mean, it's all getting too much. As we saw with Ari, with Aegros, you guys are getting that support and major project status. Congratulations, by the way. But listen, Justin, I must run. Thank you so much for today. It's great to see you again.
All right. Thanks for that, Sean. I really appreciate it. And, you know, we've got some exciting times ahead. We have challenges. We have an exciting time ahead because we know where we're going. So thanks for that, Sean.
You're welcome.